one of the lines that's been coming through from my spiritual team a lot lately, which I keep saying in a lot of the readings I'm doing, is do you love yourself enough to dot dot dot. So, I'm unhappy in my job, I'm unhappy in my relationship, I'm unhappy in my home, whatever it is. Do you love yourself enough to say, I deserve something better? If this was your best friend who was unhappy in their job, would you be encouraging them to find something else? And the answer is probably yes. So why aren't you encouraging yourself? And as you pointed out, the word encourage, I know it's spelled en, but to be in courage. Courage is that boldness. It's that, you know, I can feel afraid, but I'm not going to let the fear stop me. I'm going to recognize the fear. Why am I scared? Because it's the unknown. All right. And we feel safe if something is known. But if we want that shift, sometimes we step into the unknown. Even if you're moving home to somewhere you don't know what your new neighbours are going to be like. You don't know what problems there might be. There is always an element of the unknown. But it's saying to yourself, do I love myself enough to take that risk that could potentially take me into my best life?
2032, you said we're going through quite a shift, 2012 to 2032. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but what do you see sort of coming forward at that particular point in time when we're in the last 7 years of this 20-year sort of cycle, like you said, and a lot is ramping up? Any forecasts?
Well, ramping up is right and speeding up is right. So, if we look at the shift that we've had since 2012 to where we are now, in 12 years, it's been fairly steep, okay? Fairly steep. But we can see the way it's sped up over the last 4 years. So it's almost, I would say, tripled in the last 4 years, the speed up of shift and change. And so if we imagine that trajectory is continuing almost on a vertical line between now and 2032. So there's going to be, and there continues to, going to be, we're already in it, is this huge shifts. And so this is us on an individual basis, right? We're looking at the detail of our life, but it's also us on a city level, on a county level, on a country level, and on a world level. Just keep taking it out into the next level. So we start to see the shifts and changes. So we saw, I don't tend to watch the news because of the many, many reasons that I won't go into because it might trigger people, but I don't tend to watch the news. But occasionally I will hear something that I feel is relevant, okay? And I remember, I think it was actually the day I was supposed to be chatting with you in December, was that there was the toppling of some regime in some country. The people toppled the regime and kicked out the dictator. And I just went, yes, this is where we're going. Okay. Now, that's all about perspective because that regime will call those people terrorists and the people will call the regime the dictators. It's all about perspective. But, we can see it from the wider stage that we're moving, and this is what we've been talking about for 20 years. There's going to be more and more governments toppling and regimes toppling and people within governments that are corrupt being found out and called out and kicked out. We're seeing more and more of that. That's going to continue on almost a vertical trajectory. And AI is part of that because it brings more awareness. And the internet is part of that as well, because the more we know and see, the more we can stand up against it. Now we've got to be careful with that energy of against it because that's battle energy, which just feeds the battle, and we don't want to do that. So rather than say fighting against war, we want to stand for peace. We want to turn things into the positive and into the light. But the main thing that's toppling is the dictatorship, the obscene control, the obscene amount of corruption. This is what's falling away because this isn't the light. All right. As we get more into the light, we see that kind of behavior more and more, and it falls away. And it's an example I've used before. This started in the 60s. And it's been gently moving up, and I remember in the 80s and the 90s, and again then in the noughties, there was a big increase of awareness of abuse, and famous people being caught out and found out, and there was a huge shift to cleaning up the amount of abuse on the planet. Now, people have said, I can't believe all this is happening, and it's like, it's always happened, but it was hidden, and now it's coming to light so that it doesn't happen anymore. And of course, it'll take some time for that to fully work through. But we saw that in terms of abuse and sexual abuse and that kind of thing. But we also saw it with financial institutions, the amount of stuff that was going on behind the scenes in the 70s, 80s, 90s. The financial collapse of 2007-8 was part of, we can't have these kind of systems in place. So we've been moving towards this time, but as I said, now in this last 7 years, it's ramping up. So where are we meant to be by 2032? Are we supposed to be living in utopia? No. That whole completion, nothing's ever completed anyway, but then it'll carry on for decades. But the main turning things around has been in this 20-year period, a build up to it, and then this big turnaround for 20 years, and then there will be a stabilization and an increase of what have we grown in. Let's stabilize that, and let's continue to increase it. So when you see the news and you see all this is happening and this has happened and that's happened, it's like, just trust that this is part of the process. And it's not just happening with us individually, collectively, it's happening with the planet. So, there's more wildfires, there's more destruction, there's more floods, there's more earthquakes. There's part of the planet is evolving too, where things are out of balance. The ecosystems are out of balance. The financial systems are out of balance. The control systems are out of balance. Everything's being opened up so that it can come into balance. So when we see this stuff, can we trust this is happening for us, for our long-term, secure future? Or can we say, this is just terrible? And many people say this is terrible. And I want to reassure them that it's all happening for you and for the planet and for the cosmos, because as Earth elevates, so do the other planets, so does the universe. Everything's going up. We're not isolated here. There isn't just us. There's a lot of other energies and beings in the universe, and everything is raising its vibration into a higher state of awareness.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely love this, well then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.